For those of you who don't know GMG, we're a global well-being company that operates across 21 countries in MENA and APAC. We manufacture, distribute, and retail our own homegrown brands, as long as leading brands, international brands globally, across FMCG, retail, manufacturing, sports, logistics, and GMG Home, as long as other ventures. A brief overview, because what we will be covering today is net zero in supply chain. So we will touch base on holistically the net zero for 2050, what we have as government agendas that were mandated across the world with different timelines, and then what we are doing at GMG to contribute or to reach net zero within 2050. As you know, supply chain is a major contributor when it comes to sustainability, to gas emissions globally. So what we've seen here as a global momentum when it comes across the entire continent is multiple agendas. Each has a different timeline, but the objective is the same. How can we achieve net zero across every single country in different timelines? And how is retail contributing to this? Because today what we all know is supply chain is inseparable when it comes to retail growth. So retail growth has to grow exponentially with the same trend as supply chain. So we've seen it during COVID, the resilience, the sustainability of supply chain, how it's impacting the retail. And this is what we will jump to. So when we discuss logistics, we know for a fact that it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, contributors of gas emissions. So this is the carbon reality that we have today. We contribute around 22% as logistics sector in the gas emissions globally. And the split is, as we can see, transportation, warehousing are the top two that we have. So the targets have been set across every country with different agendas, different timelines. And now it's a call of action of what we can do to make sure that we reduce it. Otherwise, logistics will be the main bottleneck to achieve net zero by 2050. So at GMG, what we've done is we created a framework across 5 pillars. And that framework is basically a roadmap to net zero for us at GMG. So we will focus a little bit on it. This data is available publicly in 2024. We started reporting, we published our first sustainability report because we believe in transparency and we believe in accountability. And transparency will lead to accountability because we're publishing our numbers. We have a commitment. We want to make a difference where we operate across the 21 countries globally. And this is what we have been doing. So the numbers that you see are basically small steps that were making sense for us at GMG. There's no solution that fits all. We've taken baby steps. We've done trial and error to understand what works for us. Definitely in this part of the world, at least in GCC and MENA region, we have a lot of sun, right? So we have a lot of green energy that we can make use of. One of our facilities in Jabal Ali today is operating at 89% capacity is coming from green energy. We invested a lot of small things like water treatment plants for irrigation system. We have tested a lot of biofuel, EVs, electric vans. We're reporting all the circular, definitely, like the circular operations, right? Waste and packaging. We import a lot of goods into UAE, and we try as much as possible to reutilize the cartons within our network across GCC as one small step. Definitely, there's a lot more on how we're reducing plastic. We're exchanging plastic pouches with carton ones or FSG certified pouches for e-commerce deliveries. And across all this, we're governed by the technology intelligence. This is one of the main key focus that we are doing because we truly believe that with the technology advancement and the exponential advancement of technology, this is what will help us to further reduce our carbon emission footprint when it comes to logistics. As we speak, technology is definitely more expensive than it will be in 2050. So we're discussing 2050 agenda. And with this in mind, we adopted whatever makes sense for us today in terms of route optimizations, which will directly have an impact on our gas emissions for the last mile. We have predictive analysis. We created a control tower across GMG. We'll touch base on it in another one where we'll dissect what we are doing and how we change our structure of operations to have a better impact on sustainability. And then definitely we have a partnership across all our partners, So what we can control is scope 1 and scope 2. Scope 3 is a little bit in backwards and upwards integration and sustainability, so it's not really within our hands. Yeah. I'll try to move aside so I don't block. So what we started doing is, with our direct procurement, we have ESG mandates where we're partnering with partners that have the same goals as us. So looking ahead for 2030 and beyond, there's a lot of mandates, right? So we've seen that the MENA emissions to net zero and the pledges have moved from 60% roughly, which was covered in the scope, to up to 70% right now. So with governments mandating certain climate policies, it's pushing organizations like us to further adopt sustainability and sustainable measures where it makes sense. So mandatory reporting is one of them, carbon pricing, green procurement. There's a lot of initiatives if you adopt EV vehicles today, subsidized taxes, and this trend will only continue to grow. And we're gonna see definitely rising pressures on investors where they're coming into the region. When they want to do an invest, it's gonna become a mandate, the ESG criteria. It's increasing, we're seeing it a lot in the startup companies as well. So what we've done at GMG is we changed the way we operate. We truly believe that operational efficiencies will directly lead to better sustainability goals. In every operations, the cost to serve plays a crucial role, right? So we're not adamant, we don't want to go and just say we're going to adopt every single sustainable measure that is available in the market. We only make sure we invest where it makes sense, and where it makes sense, it has yielded some good results for us. We changed how we do business today. So we went from a very static, static forecast that is done every year or every 6 months, basis which we build warehouses, we design warehouses. In UAE alone, we have 21 warehouses. So we try as much as possible to adopt technology. Now, what we've done is we created a control tower at GMG, which is governs the entire value chain. That control tower goes into demand sensing. So it's with a direct contact with our planning center at Trilogy. So Trilogy is the logistics business unit for GMG. And that planning center does demand sensing. How does this allow? What it allowed us to do is, with those measurements that we're able to do, with the reaction of understanding the consumer demand and reacting within 24 hours or less, we managed to make sure that our supply and demand forecast is more up to date and more reactive more proactive than reactive. So with the demand sensing, we managed to optimize our warehousing footprint. And if we go 2-3 slides before, warehousing gas emissions is the second largest after transportation. So this has allowed us to further optimize our warehousing footprint to reduce the gas emissions. At the same time, we started adopting robotics where it makes sense. There's a lot of nice robotics and good robotics that cost effective in the region, depending on the type of business that we do. So we're not adopting one solution that fits all because we're very diversified. So where it makes sense, we started making that investment. And we adopted robotics to make sure that the warehouse footprint is optimized, the cost to serve is better. And this is yielding to not only reduction in gas emissions, but obviously in making our logistics more and more efficient. So with this triangular structure that we created, where we're governing it, and definitely the command center, which is actioning basis the control tower input from the planning center, we created a digital twin for our entire network across the organization, from where we're importing all the way to the end consumer. So we started the digital twin, which is governed by AI. We're still in the early stages from it, because it still requires a lot of machine learning. And to be honest, technology is there. However, human adoption is one of the major bottlenecks that we face today. So if the technology is saying scenario A is the most optimal, but I have 40 years of experience in doing this the way I'm used to doing it, I will always resist that change, and I will not have the full trust and faith in whatever the system is suggesting. So I will override it. So while the systems are there, human adoption is the major critical bottleneck that we see. And the advice here is to start small. No one wants to jeopardize their entire business, right? So when we're running a multi-billion-dollar organization, we cannot purely depend blindly on the system. We need to test small and then scale big and scale fast wherever it works. If not, then we tweak it. So this is what we've done when it comes to our complete network. Definitely this has yielded into more consolidations at origins, shipping ocean freight more than air freight, shipping full container loads versus LCLs, which has definitely increased our efficiency, reduced our cost to serve, and has contributed massively with our sustainability goals. The second thing that we have went into is IoT. So IoT across our entire fleet. In UAE alone, we have around 350 different type of fleets that we operate, whether it's for quick commerce, whether it's for B2B, B2C, last mile e-commerce, our wholesale business. So the fleet is quite big, and we found that the more we can further optimize our routes, and while still meeting the consumer demand, is what has yielded the most impact for us when it comes to the last mile business in particular. So IoT has enabled that transparency, has optimized our routes, and we use it daily. So we don't operate on static routes. We operate on very dynamic routes. Even if the customer is scheduled the shipment, we can directly react through the control tower and the command center. And this has given us some good results. Now, what we've discussed here so far is technology, innovation, the collaboration. What's still missing is public-private partnerships, basically, to achieve net zero, which I'm sure we'll further see it along the way. We haven't touched base, basically, on the scope 3. Scope 3 is when we go more into upward and backward integration. Scope 3 is mainly not really within the control of every retailer. Unless you're a distributor or a manufacturer, you cannot really control it. However, scope 3 goes as well beyond that. So we've discussed technology, we've discussed the AI, how AI is helping businesses. It's going to further definitely become more affordable, and then from now until the next 24, 25 years, I'm sure we'll be discussing even different technologies altogether, because technology is growing organically, exponentially, and this will help us as well to become more and more efficient, right? Drone deliveries that will come along the way and all this. But what we haven't touched base on is scope 3. Scope 3, basically, with all the AI and the data centers in the world, the gas emission will only increase. So unless we think of where we need to put those data centers, whether we fuel them through nuclear energy, green energy, today this will remain the biggest bottleneck. However, in everything that we've seen earlier, we're not really mandated to report it. So what we report is the direct procurement that we do in scope 1 and scope 2. I try to make it very brief, very simple, straight to the point. But the question that we have to always ask is, in order to achieve net zero as retailers by 2050, we need to innovate together. We need to make sure that the cost makes sense. However, what I can leave you with as a last thing is the cost of logistics inefficiency will be far more than the cost of sustainability. So I advise everyone, and I'm open for more in-depth discussions now after the session, to really understand which technologies make sense for us to invest in today and how we can further contribute together to make sure that we achieve the sustainability goals. Thank you.